Hey, all y'all, it's me, Bill Ferreter. It's time for another 10-minute team tip. Listen, when we talk about the professional learning community at work model, one of the arguments that we make is that it's our job to ensure that all students learn at grade level or higher every single year. And when we make that pitch, it's not uncommon for us to see teachers respond in this way. Like the looks on their faces are wild, right? They're hearing in their minds, wait a minute, you said all students at the highest levels? Now, a question that I have for you is that realistic? Right? Is it realistic for us to expect teachers to produce a year's worth of growth out of every student in their classroom in a year's worth of time? Why don't you go ahead and pause the video and have that conversation with your table mates right now? Well, so here's my answer to that question, right? The answer is we darn well better believe that it's possible. Why? Because when teachers believe that students are capable, it changes everything about how we interact with those students. And likewise, when we don't think that students are capable of learning at high levels, or we don't think that we have the ability to produce learning for all kids, it also changes everything about how we interact for students. If you need some proof to back that up, this is John Hattie's research. And what Hattie's trying to do is rank order the influences on student achievement from those that have the potential to considerably accelerate student learning all the way down to influences that have a negative impact on student learning. And the number 2 influence in Hattie's rankings, and by the way, it's been number 1 or 2 for over 20 years, it's called teacher estimates of student achievement. Now here's what that means. What we believe about the ability of our students changes everything about our interactions with kids. If you think students are low, it changes the kinds of tasks you'll ask them to do. It means that it's more likely that you'll bail them out of productive struggle. It means that you're less likely to really invest in reteaching because you didn't believe the kids were going to learn to begin with. What we believe about the ability of our students changes the sort of work that we ask them to do and our responses when they struggle. What does that mean for teacher leaders or motivated professionals in a building or for people that are on a guiding coalition? It means that we need to be prepared for the language of disbelief. What do I mean by that? Well, when you say, hey, listen, our goal is to ensure that all students learn at high levels, someone is going to say to you, yeah, but you don't really mean all kids, do you? Like, what about the ones who don't care? Or someone's going to say to you, yeah, you don't really believe that we can ensure that all students learn at high levels. What about the kid who's absent all the time? When you hear those responses, those yeah buts from people, we like to think of that as a culture of qualifying. Teachers are usually pretty ready to say, I believe all students can learn, but we oftentimes affix or attach a qualifier to that. As long as they pay attention, as long as they try, as long as they do their homework, as long as they can read on grade level when the school year starts. What we need to do in our buildings is we need to confront those moments when staff members reflect a disbelief in the ability of students to learn or in our ability as professionals to find solutions. Now, I want to make sure I make something clear here. I don't think that people who give us yeah buts are like terrible, horrible, no good, very bad professionals that don't care about kids. Instead, I think what we're seeing are professionals who are out of ideas. They don't know what else to try. They've done everything they can to motivate the kid who appears to not care, or they've done everything they know how to get the absent student to come to school, and nothing they've tried has worked. So what they really need is another idea of an action they can take. And what that means is, I believe that motivated professionals, leaders on your school's guiding coalition, or teacher leaders on teams, need to be ready to respond to disbelief with what I call what if we tried statements. A what if we tried statement is an action that we can recommend in response to a challenge that a teacher doesn't believe is solvable. I'll give you a simple example on the screen, right? You might have a teacher who says, I heard you say all students need to learn at the highest levels. But what do you do when a kid just doesn't complete any of their work at all? Like, what do I do then? Right? What that usually means for the teacher is they've tried everything they know to get a kid to complete work and they got nothing left, right? I don't have any other strategies to offer. They're tapped out. And as a result, they don't believe it's possible to find a solution. Well, in that moment, you might say in response, well, hey, what if we tried surveying our kids? The ones who struggle with, completing work, let's survey them and see if we can figure out what it is that's the barrier to work completion. Maybe that would help us to come up with an action we could take. Do you see how the yeah but suggests there's nothing we can do and the what if we tried always offers an action? Because what we're trying to show teachers is that we have the potential to find additional strategies. There's always something else we can try as long as we're not giving up on the kids who struggle the most. So what I would recommend your guiding coalition do is I would suggest that you sit down and together brainstorm what are the kinds of yeah buts that we hear from our teachers. Remember that a yeah but isn't an indicator of a teacher who's a bad person. It's an indicator of a teacher who's out of ideas. They've got a challenge. They can't figure out how to solve it. And then I would suggest that your guiding coalition brainstorm some what if we tried responses. When you hear that common yeah but, what will you say? Remember, the what if we tried response has to offer an action. What we're trying to do is to move people from a culture of qualifying to a culture of solution finding. And that's something that we can do by offering additional actions, showing people that I know you're frustrated and I realize you've done your best, but there's always something else we can try and offer an option. And I would go as far as to argue that you should regularly be rehearsing your responses to the yeah buts you're likely to hear. Because if you as leaders can rehearse your responses, what that means is in that moment when you're dealing with a frustrated colleague, you can always offer hope because you've practiced for this. So I want you to really think about that. If you ever struggle to think about what the yeah buts are that teachers might offer, scan the QR code that's on your screen. I actually went and asked ChatGPT, what kinds of things would cause teachers to doubt whether or not students can be successful? And it did a great job, gave me a fantastic list of the kinds of yeah buts you might hear. And are you ready for this? If you're not sure of what a what if we tried statement might be, if you don't know how to respond to a yeah but, ask ChatGPT for that what if we tried response too, because it'll generate some ideas for you. Will they be perfect every single time? Probably not. But is it at least going to give you some ideas of how you can respond to a culture of disbelief in your building? Absolutely. And by the way, until we all believe in the ability of students to learn and in our ability to find solutions, there's really no point in trying to improve student learning. Because if you didn't believe it was possible to begin with, then why in the world would you invest any real effort in trying to find solutions? It's worth thinking about, right? All right, thanks so much. If you have any comments or questions, shoot me an email. Be happy to help. You can leave me a comment too. More than happy to respond. But I want you as teacher leaders to go forth and start to confront the language of disbelief in your building.